The Aspen Words Literary Prize is all about celebrating books that expand our understanding of the world. We can think of no better way to move beyond the bubble of individual experience than through the richness of great fiction. So, before we had a long list or a short list, we started asking people on social media, our friends, families, authors, what book made you see the world differently?
When I was in high school, I read The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz, and it completely changed what I thought a story could be. I mean, when you think about the typical book you read in a high school classroom and who those stories are told about, it's never like a Dominican American growing up in the hood with his ties to the island, speaking the way we speak regularly in Spanish and in English, right? I'd never seen that. I'd never seen myself in a text where I felt like, that's me.
The book that has shaped my worldview is Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. I've read that about 10 times. I taught it in prison. I've written about it as a PhD student. I've shared it with my mentees and said, please read this book. No book I've ever read has filled me with pride in our country, and at the same time awareness of all the ways we have to do better to live up to our values than Invisible Man.
Our mission at Aspen Words is to encourage writers, inspire readers, and connect people through the power of stories. And the Aspen Words Literary Prize catalyzes that mission and connects it to the broader Aspen Institute mission, which is to spark intellectual inquiry and elevate values-based leadership.
We received a pretty amazing long list of books that tackled every kind of social issue and also tackled them from really different directions. One of the really amazing things that fiction can do is show us what possibilities there are for us beyond the kind of normal debates that we have about social issues. And I think that the books that we ended up picking really do that in amazing ways.
It was also a great pleasure to read short stories and novels together and think about what they can do uniquely to convey and illuminate social issues.
Leslie Nick Arima's What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky is just this marvelous, wild, and also at the same time devastating collection. I think it's a remarkable collection that both diagnoses our current society and then uses fantasy and magical realism and myth and legend to be able to imagine other ways of thinking.
In Sang Unburied Sing, Aspen Ward is really writing at the height of her powers. It's poetic and it's lyrical, it's complex, multi-layered, and intricate. But in some places it's also when it has to be plainly said. There's also literal ghosts in the story that haunt the characters and link the present and the past, and also offer us an opportunity to think about the future that this family might want, that's bound together both by sorrow and loss, and about the futures that we all imagine for our society.
Cincy Clemens' novel, What We Lose, is first and foremost a novel about grief, about the loss of a parent, and what one does after that. And yet, the personal is always political. And so this is not just a personal novel because she writes with such intelligence and acute care when talking about the ways in which social issues, issues of class, issues of gender, issues of race, issues of immigration can intrude and affect and change the relationships that we have even within our own families.
It was such a pleasure to read Mad Country. The stories are about Nepal and the United States and places in between. What does it mean to be a brown-skinned immigrant to the United States and to think about racism and police brutality in the United States? How do we see it differently from a different vantage, from the perspective of someone who's new here and is also having to learn to deal with the very American conundrum of racial identity?
The first thing that stunned me reading Exit West, Mohsin Hamid's magical realist novel about refugees, was just the exquisite sentences. He uses those sentences to build up this incredible portrait of two lovers in a war zone. He forces us to ask how we would react, what kind of potential there is for reactionary violence within our own societies, and he also hints at possibilities for doing better. And I think that is something vital right now.
We were looking for books that illuminated the human experience.
For all of the books that are on the finalist list is that I found myself thinking through the issues they raise and puzzling over the questions that they posed long after I'd finished them.